So the WNBA's qualifying offer period appears to be over, with one very interesting free agent potentially still available, and that being Monique Billings. And you might be confused and you're like, Mick, Monique Billings was taken by the Valkyries in the expansion draft. If you guys don't know, Monique Billings was she was taken by the Valkyries, but she's an unrestricted free agent. If the Valkyries wanted to keep Monique Billings, they literally had to core her. They had to. Or maybe they can go and get her in normal free agency, but she can talk to other teams. They do not have exclusive rights with Monique Billings. Ironically, they don't even have exclusive rights to Temi Fagbenle. If they don't want to match Temi Fagbenle, they don't get Temi Fagbenle. But Monique Billings is the closest thing in free agency to Temi. If the Fever are trying to get Temi, get a Temi replacement, your best player is realistically Monique Billings. Because if you just look at how Monique Billings plays, I'm just going to show you guys some of these clips right here. But again, to start last season, through 4 games, she was averaging 20 a game. But if you're looking at some of these clips right here, just watch this possession right here. The ball goes to Alicia Gray, sprints down the floor on the break as a big layup. That looks a little bit Temi Fagbenle-esque almost. She's a non-shooting big, but she is a running 6'4" center. And again, look, I don't know defensively if she's Temi good, because Temi was just an absolute anchor for them defensively. But if you're looking to get that track star center type Hannah Stolke type player at the power forward, or at the center position to back up Aaliyah Boston, if that's what the team is looking for, Monique Billings being available is a big one. She is incredibly, incredibly mobile for a center. And yeah, I know she's been playing power forward, but she's 6'4". She plays power forward center and is extremely, extremely mobile. And she had games last year where she looked good. As well as that, Monique Billings, her jumper, her mid-range shot is nicer than Temi's. She's a better jump shooter. So, look, I don't think she's anything absolutely spectacular as a player. But she is the closest thing to Temi Fagbenle there is in this year's draft. In this year's free agency class. And she's now available. I saw this right here from, obviously, somebody who's working for her hoop stats, coming out and saying, barring later than usual or backdated updates, the WNBA's qualifying period is over. So no qualifying offer for Carter, Charisma Osborne, Lee Meng, and no core designation for Monique Billings and Elena Deladon. This is a very interesting one when it comes to Elena Deladon. I'll talk about Carter and Deladon in different videos. But it says here, I figured Golden State wouldn't court Billings when I realized she was their unrestricted free agent. Hopefully they'll give her an offer and she lands somewhere this season. So basically, with the way it was, whatever your unrestricted free agent is, you had to core. Whoever it was that they took in the expansion draft, they had to core them. So they either had to give Monique Billings a supermax, or maybe not necessarily let her walk, because it's the difference between letting Monique Billings walk and then making sure that, allowing her to talk to other teams, because if they want to give her 120k a year, the Valkyries can, but I don't see the point of having her and Temi on the same team. But if you're the Fever and she's affordable, this is your free agent if you don't get Natasha Howard as your back. If you don't get Natasha Howard and you're running Alyssa Smith at power forward still, which I still think that's a bit of an iffy one to do, but if that's really what you're doing, I don't hate going for Monique Billings. I don't hate it. Monique Billings would not be my first choice, but if you are Indiana and you're trying to replace a Temi, but at the same time, I do think if Indiana really wanted a Temi, they would have just kept the Temi they already had. But if that was the case, that they're trying to get that running center, I do think Monique Billings is the best option, because they don't really exist. Those type of players don't really exist in the WNBA. And you might be saying, oh, you can go overseas. Who? Malonga? You trade up and get Malonga? Is that what you're going to be doing? That's really the only thing that I can do. Honestly. That is one of the only things that I can do, because you're not finding players like this yet. like you're not going overseas. Like Ileana Rupert as an athletic center, you're gonna have to trade. You're gonna have to give up assets to get her from the Valkyries. Wakui, you're gonna have to give up assets. In free agency, there's nobody not named Temi Benley that can play that role. And from what I've seen, there are not that many. Like they don't grow on trees. Athletic, rim running, 6'4" plus WNBA players with a bit of touch and don't grow on trees. So yeah, like that would be on the offensive end, especially if you're looking to replicate what Temi did on that end, as in just having the player, the big that will just outrun her matchup. Like if imagine they come up first game of the season, they come up against the Chicago Sky, and Cardoso's killing them on the inside, and suddenly you've got Monique Billings. So for every single time that the Fever come out with a defensive rebound, it's just get it to Caitlin, and you see Monique Billings sprinting the floor, launch long. It's a layup line. She'll be running a layup line. Like how many buckets Monique Billings could have playing beside Caitlin Clark? It's crazy. And like last year, I get it, she averaged 7 and 8. It's nothing spectacular. And again, like I'm not saying pay her to that max. Like I'm saying if you can get her in and around that 100K mark, if you're looking at her recent games, especially or her games at the start of the year, early on in the year, like if you're looking, she had 20-18-18. She went in a 3-game stretch for Dallas. And by the way, like Dallas started off the year 4-2. Like 20-18-18. And then she had 19 and 12. 8, 10. Like she was playing near 40 minutes a game. And then suddenly it just dropped off. She ended up getting cut. She ended up going to or she got cut after the Olympic break, which was a bit of a weird one. Maybe she was on like a hardship, but like her points did start to drop. And she went to Phoenix and she was doing okay. But look, she was a big minute player against for Phoenix. She played 15 minutes in a really close playoff game 1. Had 2 points, but like Monique Billings is a good player. Genuinely, for what she have for her career. Like her best season, she averaged 8.8 points per game with Dallas this year, starting half the game. So she's been a solid bench big for the last decade in the WNBA, nearly. And I think she could be a really, really solid bench big if it's something that the Fever are looking for. I think, honestly, she's a really solid bench big wherever she goes. I don't think there should be a reason why Monique Billings is not in the WNBA, but she's a really interesting free agent that has obviously only just come back onto the market because, like everyone thought that, oh, she's in the Valkyries, but obviously with the Valkyries not coring her, it means that she is an unrestricted free agent. She can go anywhere. And again, she could definitely go to Golden State. She could still be there. But if I am Indiana, I'm at least putting in a call to her agent to see what she's looking for.